everyone, my name's Daria, welcome back to my channel full of lit, and today I plan on tier ranking every single book that I read in 2020. That's 115 books total. Now, I know that tier ranking has gone a bit out of vogue, it's not as popular as it was some 9 to 10 months ago, but you know what? We're still doing this. I have quite a few books to talk about today, so without any further ado, without any more stalling, let's get to the ranking. Okay, so first of all, let me go ahead and acquaint you guys with the rankings here. So the bottom tier here is pretty self-explanatory, bottom of the barrel, the worst of the worst. The next tier up is thanks for stopping by. Now I imagine a lot of the books that are going to go into this tier are books that I just can't even remember reading. Next we have the tier alright. I have a feeling a lot of books are going to go into this tier. Next we have Chef's Kiss. These are books that I thought were just immaculate, refined, but they just didn't quite reach the top tier title, which is Hall of Fame. The best of the best, absolutely stunning, possibly my new favorite books of all time. So first we have New Moon, which gut feeling just makes me want to say thanks for stopping by, because this is just not my favorite book in the entire saga. So yeah, pretty easy with the first book. Then we have The Castle of Otranto, which I read for one of my classes. Once again, straight to thanks for stopping by. It was interesting at the time that I read it. Looking back on it now, can't remember a damn thing about it. Next we have T.J. Klune's Wolf Song. Now this book, when I read it, it truly did change me for the next week. I feel like I want to give it Chef's Kiss. It was just so beautifully written. Next we have Le Morte d'Arthur. Oh lord. Okay, I don't know if there are any rabid fans of this book. I know a lot of us enjoy King Arthur stories. This is like the OG, and I really do appreciate this piece of work. However, work is the titular word in that sentence because it is literally feels like a job trying to read this book. It felt like torture. This one is going into bottom of the barrel purely because of the hellish experience of reading it. Next we have the Roanoke Girls, and this might be a bit of a controversial opinion, but I actually really enjoyed this thriller. It's one of those thriller mysteries where you can definitely guess what's going to happen. I think actually knowing what was coming made it all the worse because you just keep waiting for the other shoe to drop and for the secret to come out into the open. When I'm comparing it to the other thriller mysteries that I read and knowing about the other books that I want to put in Chef's Kiss, I think I'm gonna go alright. Next we have Lancelot, written by Chrétien de Troyes. I'm going to say thanks for stopping by. Next we have Such a Fun Age, straight into Chef's Kiss. I absolutely adored this book. It had such dark humor, which is exactly to my tastes, and it really interrogated like liberal whiteness and what it means to be an ally and how you can fail miserably at doing it. Next we have The Roommate. Now this was cute, this was sexy, this was a fun time, but I don't think it was good enough to reach like Chef's Kiss level, so we're gonna go put you in alright. Next we have The Guy on the Right, and I'm gonna go ahead and say, bottom of the barrel. It was in my worst of. It mostly just disappointed me. I wanted to like it so bad, and I just didn't. I really didn't. You Should See Me in a Crown. That one was so cute, but I am struggling to remember the details of it. I just remember feeling so, like, happy when I read it. You know, there are some books that you remember the emotional experience more than, like, what happened in the book. I feel like that is what happened with me in this book. I just loved reading it. I loved every second of it. So you know what? We're gonna go Chef's Kiss with this one. Next, we have Temporary Wife Temptation. I wanted to like this book so much. It was a romance between two people of color. We absolutely love to see it, but it just felt far too rushed for my tastes. So because of that, I think I'm going to have to put it in thanks for stopping by. Next, we have the final book that I read in 2020, Curvy Girls Can't Date Quarterbacks. Now this one was cute. I really enjoyed the fact that the main character talked about struggling with PCOS. She got a diagnosis in the book. I thought that was great representation. I myself struggle with PCOS and found out about it when I was a teenager. The thing that bothered me about this book is that so much of the resolution happened off the page. There's this whole plot line in which the main character wants to reconcile with her friend group. It's a major part of the entire story, and yet it happens within the span of a paragraph, like it's just mentioned off the cuff. So that was disappointing. And because of that, I think I'm going to go ahead and put you in alright. So the next book is Pachinko. And this This is going straight to Hall of Fame status. It is so freaking good. This book is a sweeping historical fiction told over multiple generations. It was definitely one of the longest books that I read this year, and yet somehow managed to captivate me for every minute I was reading it. So good. Just so incredibly good. Next we have The Bigamist, which was an interesting read, an interesting nonfiction book about a woman who finds out that her husband is just a giant liar, pants on fire, who has been manipulating her since they first met. I would say that, all right is a good place for it. I'm really struggling to say all right 3 times. I think I might just start calling this all right squared. Okay, Frank McCourt's Angela's Ashes. Straight to chef's kiss, my guy. It was so good. Once again, we have the dark humor that I absolutely adore. It was so well told, so captivating. Just chef's kiss all around. Next we have another book that I read for my classes, Roxana. I feel like I'm gonna say thanks for stopping by because that little noise you just heard was me struggling to remember what the hell happened in this book, and I couldn't come up with anything. Next we have Iola Leroy, which is going straight to chef's kiss. I really loved this book. It was definitely one of the more fascinating and intriguing reads that I had to do for one of my classes, so it deserves that spot. Next we have Pamela. Now this might be an unpopular opinion, but I actually liked Pamela. It is hellishly long, I will give you that, but I really loved the epistolary format. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this in all right ×3. Next we have Marriage for One. Once again, thanks for stopping by. I don't really remember much about this book because it was boring. Next we have Mars Room. I feel like I'm gonna keep putting these all into thanks for stopping by because I don't remember anything about this book. Like legitimately, my mind is blank. If you ask me about the Mars Room, I might genuinely forget that I even read it. So honestly, for that, I think I'm gonna have to go bottom of the barrel. Next we have Sharp Objects. Ooh, here we go, Chef's Kiss. I read so many amazing thrillers this year, and this one was definitely one of them. Next we have After Ever Happy by Anna Todd. Okay, you know what, let me just go ahead and put all the After books into bottom of the barrel. I feel like there's nothing left to be said. If you're familiar with my channel, you know exactly why this is happening. Let's not even talk about it. Next we have Language of Thorns. Okay, maybe this is just sentimental on my part, but it has to get Hall of Fame. Anything Leigh Bardugo writes, I am in awe. I feel like there are some books that you read and they remind you why you started reading in the first place, what you loved about reading, and Language of Thorns was one of those books for me. Next we have Sojourner Truth's narrative of her life. I didn't really consider that I read a lot of narratives and memoirs this year. I kind of made it a rule with myself that I wasn't really going to give any star ratings to those books because doesn't that make you feel like an asshole? Maybe it's just me, but I feel like an asshole being reading someone's entire life story and what they went through and then being like, oh yeah, 2 stars, 3 stars, I didn't really enjoy your life and how you spoke about it. That makes me feel like a dick. Okay, I think I'm gonna put this in Chef's Kiss because it was wonderfully written and incredibly eye-opening and captivating. Next we have Yvain, another short story by Chrétien de Troyes. The only thing I remember about this book is that this dude straight up forgot he had a wife because he was jousting for so long. So because of that, I kind of want to put it in Hall of Fame because that's a lot of it hilarious. A Little Life. Ooh, okay. This was one of the most baffling books that I read this year because I liked it, but I also hated it. It was so beautifully written. I cared about the characters so deeply, but it was torture porn. The criticisms that people have of this book are 100% valid, and I get it. So even though it was technically in my worst of 2020 video, it was really just more so disappointing. So I feel like I'm just gonna say thanks for stopping by. Next we have Normal People by Sally Rooney, Hall of Fame status, where else would it go? I love this book. I'm gonna reread that in 2021. In fact, I might reread it every year for the rest of my life. An Ember in the Ashes. Ooh, Chef's Kiss. What an amazing experience. And also, at myself, what a dumbass for not having read it sooner. So now that I mentioned it, let me just go ahead and put all of the Ember books in Chef's Kiss because they all deserve it. Darius the Great deserves better. Once again, Chef's Kiss. It was just, I love Darius. I think I am very attached to this series because of my Iranian heritage. Getting to see that represented in a book and done with such respect and care just means the world to me. Next we have Rebecca. I'm oscillating between All Right ×3 and Chef's Kiss because I don't know, I feel like the more I thought about Rebecca, the more I just wasn't really a fan of the whole like crazy wife trope of it all. So I think because of that, I'm gonna put it in Alright ×3. Next we have Serpent and Dove. Hello, bottom of the barrel. Punk 57. Ooh, this was like one of the first books that I read this year. I don't think I've ever seen an enemies to lovers in contemporary novels go that hard before. Like, they hated each other, and they did some really nasty things to each other. And I kind of ate it up. So, don't mind me. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in Chef's Kiss. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. Next we have Secret Crush Seduction. Oh, I wanted to like this book so bad. This is the follow-up to Temporary Wife Temptation. I have a lot of the same criticisms, didn't feel invested in the romance, felt it was far too rushed, so I think it's going to join its twin, and thanks for stopping by. Baby Teeth. Ooh, okay. When I first read this, I really enjoyed it, but looking back on it, I really wish that there had just been more substance to the ending. I wish it would have been a better shock, a better twist. So because of that, I'm gonna put it in Alright ×3. My Dark Vanessa. Okay, this book. Oh, this book haunts me. Honestly, I feel like I'm gonna have to put it in Chef's Kiss because it truly, the entire time I was reading it, I was like stressed. This book is by no means enjoyable. It deals with very triggering material and it doesn't give you an answer per se. It doesn't tell you who the good guys are, who the bad guys are. It just sort of shows you all these people in their purest form with their truest colors and then just lets you make the judgments for yourself. Next we have Uzumaki, another Chef's Kiss, just incredible. Junji Ito can do no wrong, and this was just stunning, amazing, impeccable, spectacular, wonderful. Next we have My Lovely Wife. Hello, bottom of the barrel. This bottom of the barrel is honestly like purely out of spite because I had such high hopes for this book and it let me down time and time again. Next we have The Poppy War, which I want to give Chef's Kiss, but then again, I felt like I definitely struggled with this book because it was one of the first books that I read that was higher fantasy, that was adult fantasy, so I really felt like I was struggling to get all the information. There was a lot of exposition, introductions to the world and the characters and the politics that I just really couldn't get a grasp on at first. But then the latter half of the book really picked up in terms of narrative and pacing. So, you know, I'm gonna give it Chef's Kiss because the second half was like impeccable storytelling. And now that I'm here, let me go ahead and find... I'm going to give the Dragon Republic Hall of Fame because I have very rarely seen an author write a good sequel. Very rarely have I seen an author write a sequel that blows the first book out of the water. And that is exactly what Kwame did. Next we have A Very Large Expanse of Sea. Hello, Chef's Kiss. Once again, loved the Iranian representation. I honestly think that I prefer Tahira Mafi's contemporary books over her fantasy ones. Maybe that's a stretch given that she's only written the one contemporary book, but if An Emotion of Great Delight is anything like A Very Large Expanse of Sea, hello, new favorite contemporary author. Next we have Clap When You Land, Hall of Fame, Hall of Fame. What else is there to say? Elizabeth Acevedo has the Midas touch. Everything that she touches turns to gold. I don't know how she does it. I honestly don't even want to know how she does it. I just want her to keep doing it. Next we have Trevor Noah's Born a Crime. I actually think I'm going to give this book Hall of Fame because I don't think I've had such an enjoyable time reading a book. I listened to the audiobook for this and Trevor reads it himself and he's impeccable. If you're going to read this book, you know what? Don't even read it. Just listen to it because you need to hear this man tell this story. You have to. Next we have The Wives. Once again, bottom of the friggin' barrel. Next we have Chain of Gold. My gut makes me want to say Hall of Fame just because of how emotionally attached I am to all the characters in this book. So you know what? Fuck it. We're going Hall of Fame. It's almost offensive that Cassandra Clare can write these many books in the same world and then just keep topping herself. Like, that's not fair. Next we have Betrayed. This is a recent read for me. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was cute. I honestly was not expecting it to get sexy and then it did, so I very much appreciate that. Next we have The Turn of the Key. Once again, Chef's Kiss. I am actually pleasantly surprised that a lot of books are going into Chef's Kiss. I read a lot of good books this year. Next we have Shamala. I know this says Joseph Andrews and Shamala, but I only read Shamala. It was for a class. It's basically a parody on the book Pamela. There's so much like extra reading that you have to do in order to understand Shamala. I don't even know what to say about it. Except for thanks for stopping by. Next we have The Wife Between Us, a domestic thriller if there ever was one, and yet I ate it up. I think we're gonna go alright times 3. Next we have White Fragility. I'm gonna say alright times 3. Next we have Memoirs of a Geisha. Now I talked about my misgivings with this book in another video. Despite my enjoyment of this book, despite how well written it was, I do feel uncomfortable with the fact that this book caused a lot of pain to the woman whose story it in part tells, or at least takes heavy inspiration from. So because of that, I think I'm just gonna say thanks for stopping by. So next we have Berserk Volume 2, and in fact, why don't I go ahead and rank all the Berserk volumes? And if I am remembering them correctly, this is how my ranking goes. Berserk Volume 1, 2, and 3 were just kind of alright, and I went ahead and put 4 and 5 into Chef's Kiss because that is where the real meat of the story starts. It's where Guts meets Griffith and where the story really picks up, and I started to really enjoy it. Next we have King and the Dragonfly. Absolutely Chef's Kiss. There is nowhere else it could go. One of the best middle grade novels I have ever read. And actually, the same has to be said of Other Words for Home. These were 2 middle grade novels that I read this year. And as you can see, I'm not hugely into middle grade, but these 2 books make me want to rethink that decision. Next we have No Exit. Once again, a Chef's Kiss book. I love the idea of having a thriller mystery confined to a certain encapsulated space, and that is exactly what this book was, and it made it all the more dramatic and all the more entertaining. Next we have Brown Album. Now this is a collection of essays written by an Iranian author just about her identity. You know, I wasn't a huge fan, so I'm gonna say thanks for stopping by. You know, just because someone is of the same culture as you, the same nationality, doesn't necessarily mean that all of your experiences are going to align or that you're going to see everything the same way. Next we have The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende. Chef's Kiss, my god. Isabel Allende is a master storyteller. Next we have Behind Closed Doors, which was a very disappointing read for me. This book is essentially about a woman who finds out that her new husband is a horrible, evil, despicable person. And in that sense, it felt, you know, true to life. That definitely does happen. Men are systemically garbage. It got interesting in the last, fourth of the book, but that was definitely not enough to save it. Honestly, I'm gonna go bottom of the barrel with this one. Next we have Midnight Sun. Can't really ignore the shitty Native American representation and just all the mess that Stephenie Meyer brings. So, I'll say alright. Next, we have The One. I love this book. Oh my god, Hall of Fame, hello! I read this book in one day, which I don't think has happened at all this year with any of these other books. Next, we have The Night Swim, which I'm going to go Chef's Kiss with. I think it did a really great job interrogating rape culture. I really liked the format of the podcast. Next, we have James Baldwin's If Beale Street Could Talk. So well written, so captivating. I think James Baldwin is just so goddamn talented. I've read his nonfiction before. This was my first time reading his fiction, and I don't understand how you can do well at both, how you can excel so much at both. I just think that's not fair. Next we have A Song of Achilles. Once again, Chef's Kiss. Absolutely destroyed me. I will never recover. Next we have Lock Every Door. Easily Chef's Kiss. Next we have Blood on the Track Volume 1. Let me go ahead and find Volume 2 as well, because these both get Chef's Kiss. Truly one of the best, psychological horrors / thrillers that I've read in a long time. I cannot wait to get to the 3rd volume. All Boys Aren't Blue. Hello, Hall of Famer. Next we have Midnight Blue, and I think I'm gonna put this in thanks for stopping by. Next we have Children of Virtue and Vengeance. Oh shit. Oh no! I DNF'd that. I didn't read 115 books this year. I only read 114. Everything's a lie! I'm so devastated right now. That means I didn't reach my Goodreads goal. Okay, you know what? Children of Virtue and Vengeance, just gonna stay at the bottom. I'm so mad right now. We have to move on. Otherwise I'm just gonna get more upset. Okay, Miracle Creek gets Hall of Fame status. Next we have The Silent Patient, which is the first thriller mystery that I read this year. It's what really started me down the rabbit hole of that genre because I enjoyed it so much. And because of that, it's gonna get Chef's Kiss. I've recommended it to a lot of family members and friends who are sort of getting into the thriller mystery genre as well. I think it's a good starting point. Next we have The Mother-in-Law, which I'm going to say alright times 3. It wasn't really the mystery that intrigued me about this book. I just honestly didn't even care to find out who did the killing in this book. What really interested me was the family dynamics. Next we have Phyllis Wheatley's Poetry and Complete Writings. I don't like poetry. This is the thing, I don't like poetry, so it's no matter who writes it, I'm just not a fan. I'm gonna say all right times 3. Next we had She Was Gone. I think I'm gonna put it in all right times 3. I feel like it definitely could have gone darker. Like, I wish it gotten even darker than it did. Next we have Atomic Habits. This was one of the few nonfiction books that I read this year, and I really, really liked it. I think that when it comes to like self-help books, they tend to just give information that I feel like people already know, really, or they've heard somewhere else and probably heard it better. But this author actually gave like tangible advice for how to improve your life. I didn't mean to. Actually, you know what? I actually did mean to do that. I did mean to give it chef's kiss. Oh, that's funny. Next we have a big old brick of a book, a biography of Victoria, Queen Victoria. I'm obsessed with Queen Victoria. I'm obsessed with a lot of British monarchs, and I loved this. I thought it went so in depth, not only about her politics, but about her personal life as well. I found out a lot about her and her relationships with her prime ministers that I didn't know about, her relationships with her children, and I like that the book tended to incorporate a lot of other people in the Victorian era who were very important. So I'm gonna say chef's kiss with that one. I really enjoyed it. It did not feel like a slog at all. I really was captivated every minute of it, and it was like a 600-page book. Next we have Little Secrets. Oh my god, bottom of the barrel. Bottom of the friggin' barrel. Even, it's like under the barrel. This book pisses me off. Next we have Twilight. Once again, another reread. I'm gonna go ahead and put it in thanks for stopping by. Next we have Pretty Girls. Ooh, this book. This was early in the year, and I remember this book pretty well. So I'm gonna put it in chef's kiss. I think it maybe focuses less so on like the mystery thriller portion and more on just like the brutality of what goes on in this book. Next we have Frederick Douglass's narrative of his life. I'm gonna go chef's kiss. I definitely want to go back and read this again. I feel like his narrative was one of those that you can go back and you'll discover something new or recognize something different every single time. Next we have Orinoco. I'm putting that at the bottom of the barrel. Just look up that book and you will know exactly why. Next we have Love and Excess. I'm struggling to remember anything about this book. It talked a lot about sex. And that's it. So I'm gonna put thanks for stopping by. Next, we have Oscar Wilde's Picture of Dorian Gray. I've said this every time I mention this book. I cannot believe it took me this long in my life, especially as an English major, to read this book. But embarrassment aside, chef's kiss. Absolutely. Absolutely. Next we have Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen. Not one of my favorite novels from her, but still, I said this in my Goodreads review, Jane Austen at her best is better than most authors at their worst. So I'm gonna go ahead and say all right times 3. All right, next we have Children of Blood and Bone. Unlike the sequel, I did actually read this book. I'm still really pissed off about that. I'm gonna say all right times 3. I'm going to be honest, I forget a lot of what happened. I do remember really enjoying this book, but the romances, oh god, the romances, so unnecessary. Totally killed it for me. Marrow of Tradition, another Hall of Famer, just so well written. The way that Chestnut was able to weave together seamlessly so many characters and relationships and histories. Oh, it's so good. I need to reread that as well. While I'm tier ranking all of these books, I am simultaneously deciding which ones I'm going to reread and building my 2021 TBR, so not a bad thing. Next we have Bunny by Mona Awad. This is such a weird book. This is such a weird book. And yet, you know, I liked it, so I'm going to put it in all right times 3. I see we have another Hall of Famer amongst us. Everything I Never Told You. The way that Celeste Ng was able to perfectly capture family dynamics, I don't know how she did it. Once again, we're following multiple characters, multiple timelines. We know exactly why each character is doing what they're doing, and yet we also can see perfectly how it negatively affects all the other family members. Pennies. Wow, I forgot about this book. Bottom of the barrel, if I have to say so. Oh my god. I'll just say one thing about this book, and I think you'll understand why I put it there. It is about a woman who is sex trafficked. And no, she doesn't fall in love with her sex trafficker, but she falls in love with a guy who does business with him or something. He's not really that much better. And the fact that the only other love interest, I don't even want to say that, the only other guy that you have to compare the hero to is a sex trafficker, like that's how low the bar is that you're setting, then of course this guy is gonna look like an angel. But like, is that really the comparison that you want to make? Is that really the standard that we're going for here? Next we have How to Write an Autobiographical Novel. I don't remember anything about this book. It makes me feel so bad, but I really don't, so I'm just gonna have to say thanks for stopping by. Ooh, I'm so sorry. The next book is W.E.B. Du Bois's The Souls of Black Folk. I'm going to put this in chef's kiss. I have read and reread his writings on double consciousness so many times, discussed them so many times, and every single time it continues to astound and fascinate me. Next, we have Brazen, which is a graphic novel all about powerful women throughout history. I think I'm gonna go Chef's Kiss, and I'm gonna put it there instead of All Right Times 3 just because the art style was so beautiful. Next, we have Incidents in the Life of a Slave Girl by Harriet Jacobs. I think I wrote like a paper on this, like a short essay about it. I think it's absolutely fascinating. I keep saying that word fascinating. I'm running out of adjectives. All these books are so damn good. I'm gonna put this in Chef's Kiss. What I really liked about Jacobs' narrative is that she directly confronts white women, particularly northern white women. Next we have On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous. I'm going to put this into Chef's Kiss. It really was like opening up someone's diary. You felt like you were reading something so intimate and personal that you feel like you should look away, but at the same time you don't want to. Then we have Tiny Pretty Things. I really like this. It was so good. I'm gonna put it in Chef's Kiss for sure. It follows these three girls in the ballet world. All this competition, all this pressure just forces these girls to do some really horrific things to each other and to themselves. Talking about this book just makes me wish that the show had followed it more because it was just so good. Next we have All the Bright Places. Ooh, this book got to me. The book and the adaptation definitely elicit emotional responses for me. I think I'm gonna go All Right Times 3. While it was a deeply emotional book and definitely impacted me, I don't know if it is really on the same level as these other books in the Chef's Kiss tier. Next we have Clichés, another Chrétien de Troyes book. Straight to Thanks for Stopping By, where all the rest of them are. I don't remember a goddamn thing about that. Next we have Menace. I am also going to put this in Thanks for Stopping By. I honest to God can't remember much of it. I do remember that I liked the sort of positive take and representation of sex work, but other than that, I wasn't a huge fan. Next we have One to Watch, another Hall of Famer. I thought I was done with all those, but here we go. Hall of Fame, absolutely. It was the best romance book I read the whole year. Then again, I didn't read many of them, but it doesn't matter. It was so good. Next, we have A Room with a View. I'm gonna put this in Chef's Kiss. I really enjoyed this. It was short, to the point, and the characters were absolutely hilarious and fascinating. Next, we have The Turn of the Screw. I'm gonna put this in All Right Times 3. I think maybe it was just so hyped up and I'd heard so much about The Turn of the Screw. You know, there are so many movies based off of it. We had the recent Haunting of Bly Manor that was inspired by it. So I think I really expected it to be like super eerie and creepy and just like, you know, the epitome of gothic horror, and I wasn't that thrilled by it. The next book is Allauda Equiano's narrative, The Life of Allauda Equiano. I'm struggling to remember anything about this book, honestly. I think I'm gonna put it in All Right Times 3. Next we have Girl Made of Stars. I'm gonna put this in All Right Times 3. I did appreciate the message of, you know, victim blaming, rape culture. We follow a girl who has to confront the fact that her brother, someone she's close to and loves, raped and sexually assaulted another girl that she cares about. I just didn't think it was particularly written well, and I just don't think it was for me. Next we have We Should All Be Feminists, which I'm going to give, I think I'm going to actually give it All Right Times 3. This felt like Feminism 101. Like a lot of the things that Adichie talks about in this book are things that I think a lot of us longtime feminists already know about. Next we have White Rage, which I'm going to put in Chef's Kiss for sure. This book takes a look at the history of the United States and just shows that a lot of our politics, a lot of our policies and laws, everything about our country has been influenced by white people being upset, particularly being upset that Black people are advancing in the way that they were. It was baffling to read. Once again, adding it to my 2021 TBR, I definitely want to read it again. The final book I have left to rank is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Straight to the top. I'm very happy that I get to end on another Hall of Famer. Apparently V.E. Schwab took a while to write this book. I think I heard something around 10 years. All that patience, all that hard work paid off because this book was stunning. I have not shut up about this book since I finished it. So there we have it. Every single book that I read in 2020 ranked. I am really pleasantly surprised that so many of the books are in this like higher tier category. Of course there are going to be some books that fall through the cracks, that always happens. The fact that Children of Virtue and Vengeance cannot be ranked, the fact that I didn't realize I DNF'd it, the fact that I only read 114 books instead of my goal of 115, it haunts me. I'm going to have to mourn this after I'm done filming this video. So there you have it, you guys, all 114 books that I read in 2020 ranked. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know if you've read any of these books and where you would rank them. As always, you guys can find all my other social media linked below, and I very much look forward to seeing you all in my next video. Bye!